Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, MC, and a warm welcome to everyone here this morning. My name is Tinir. I'm a second-year computer science student from IIUM, and I'll be your moderator for this debate. With me here today are four of IIUM's most decorated debaters, and Manasir will be timekeeping. First up, we have Khalid. He is a third-year law student, Asian British Parliamentary 2017 Grand Finalist, 3 times Oxford Cambridge Ivy ESL runner-up, World Universities Debating Championship ESL semi-finalist. We have Umay Mashita, main Octo finalist judge of Australasians Debating Championship 2018, champion of Malaysian National Schools Debating Championship, Malaysian novice champion. And then we have Sharif, 4th-year computer information and electrical engineering student, champion and overall best speaker of Asian British Parliamentary, a prestigious regional championship, 2-time Malaysian Debate Open champion, and Durham Ivy 2018 champion. Lastly, we have Shitab Dayan, a final-year finance student who was the ESL category finalist for Oxford Ivy 2017 and Australasians Debating Championship Open Semis finalist and Open Quarters finalist of World Universities Debating Championship 2018 in Mexico. For decades, IIUM Debate Club has won numerous tournaments across the globe, beat teams like Oxford and Cambridge in their own stage, and we're very happy to have them here today. The term artificial intelligence was first coined by John McCarthy in 1956 when he first held the academic conference on this subject matter. At its core, AI is an intelligence about building machines that can think and act intelligently. All of this advancements in AI has forced humans to forecast the future where all of our jobs will be automated and where we cannot find jobs. Because AI is constantly and exponentially getting smarter than we are, this allowed them to automate all these jobs. The efficiency of AI is not debatable. As the previous speaker has mentioned, so many jobs have become more efficient and cheaper and faster because of AI. Since AI is advancing so rapidly, it is vital for us to start to debate about the best ways for AI to develop positively while minimizing its destructive potential. Because most of the time, computers learn with little to no human interactions, right? So this raises the question of who is in charge, what are the known and unknown outcomes of this AI, and how far will this advance? So the structure of this debate is very simple. Each speaker will be speaking for 4 minutes, starting with the government speaker, followed by the first opposition speaker, and so on. I would like to note that none of the opinions expressed by the speaker is of their own. They have been forced to express such opinions by the position they've been put in. So without further ado, I would like to call upon Khalid to open the government case. Here.
Testing. Hello, yeah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not from the benevolence of the baker that we can expect our bread, and it certainly cannot be from the benevolence of a computer program designed to profit a few that we can expect our salvation. I'll talk about 2 things in my speech. Firstly, let's establish the parameters for this debate. Secondly, we'll establish why the ownership of artificial intelligence will always belong into the hands of a few. Firstly then, what is this debate about? How does artificial intelligence look like now? Of course, I give thanks to the previous speaker for articulating the precise mechanics of artificial intelligence. But what's noteworthy is that currently, we already see advances surpassing human cognitive ability. Whether it be way back in the 2000s when esteemed chess player Garry Kasparov was beaten by IBM's Deep Blue, or then quite recently when Google's AlphaGo is able to beat the most professional players, what is clear is that already we are able to surpass the limits of the human mind. But the current restriction of the modern world is that AI is uniquely only able to solve singular tasks and work on few data sets at a time. This debate, however, requires us to imagine a hypothetical future. A future where artificial intelligence is in its fully fledged form, where machine learning is at its peak and AI is able to juggle multiple tasks efficiently, and where reinforced adaptation means that AI continuously learns from its mistakes again and again and again. That is the context where this debate operates under, a world where the AI is not just a player in the economic industry, but rather the hegemon that we are all subservient to. First argument, why the ownership of artificial intelligence will belong to the hands of a few. There are two reasons why artificial intelligence will be inaccessible for regular individuals like you, me, or anyone in this room. The first is that the development of artificial intelligence requires an extremely large upfront investment. That is to say that it privileges entities already with large amounts of capital. We are talking about the Google, Facebook, and Amazons of the world who are able to swallow the upfront cost of their research and the upfront cost of their investment. Notice that the development of AlphaGo already itself took $25 million in order to develop. What more, ladies and gentlemen, development which runs across the economy in its largest scale. Consider, for example, that artificial intelligence is likely to require the utilization of extremely powerful graphic cards that are inaccessible at the cost of regular individuals like you and I. The second reason is the proliferation of patenting technology. The fact that the owners of artificial intelligence, if they are incentivized to put in money into that research, they are likely incentivized as well to protect and preserve those intellectual property rights. The ownership of artificial technology will likely span across decades as opposed to being public ownership that we all can access into. The conclusion of this is simple. The conclusion of this is that the owners of the most revolutionary means of production will not be regular individuals on the streets. It will be in the hands of a select few individuals who are able to control the proliferation of artificial intelligence onto the economy at large. I would say that is an extremely scary prospect for two distinct reasons. The first is that there's now no incentive to create meaningful jobs and meaningful welfare for regular people. Why? Because if the backbone of your economy is tied to an entity which does not require a salary, which does not require health benefits, there is similarly no incentive to hire an employee which requires that sustenance. It is a fact that humans are flawed in requiring that we need to eat. Artificial intelligence, however, can be put to work literally 24/7, and that is a scary prospect. Yes, there will be some tokenistic jobs like the previous speaker implied, storytelling designers. I'm sure those things will exist. But the meaningful scope of jobs that currently humans can access will likely disappear under their side of the house. The second outcome is that state capture means that you elevate the ranks of the owners of artificial intelligence into a godlike status, where the regulated becomes the regulator, where Amazon, Google, and Facebook gets to decide governmental policy by virtue of them being too important for the economy. That is a bizarre, frightening, almost Orwellian world. We prefer the status quo. We prefer human supremacy. I'm very proud to propose.
Thank you, Khalis. Now I look to Umay Marshita to open the case for opposition. Hear, hear.
Testing. Artificial intelligence is inevitable. Machine learning has reached a level where it is capable of mimicking close to or better than human-level interaction in constrained scenarios involving areas such as customer service queries, medical diagnostics, and navigation of autonomous vehicles. People who fear artificial intelligence fear innovation, just like the people who feared that they would be replaced by automobile vehicles back then. Human beings are gifted in such a way that they can innovate technology to make life easier. Every innovation has a drawback, but artificial intelligence can be the next step forward in terms of human evolution. We must not underestimate mankind's ability to adapt to it. And the impact of artificial intelligence and robotics depends on how we adopt them. We have to have a multi-collaborative approach in ensuring that it is accessible to individuals everywhere. The way that AI and robotic systems are applied by organizations and corporations will impact individuals, and those are things that we can navigate. So in this debate, I would tell you that there are a lot of things that can regulate artificial intelligence, right? There are regulations in place, checks and balances that you can put in. So firstly, in my speech, I'll be responding to the speaker before me. His arguments were, firstly, that the ownership will only be in the hands of a few. But the main crux of artificial intelligence is that it is software and data-driven. And a lot of this information is actually accessible by the public. So startup companies and even big corporations like Google, we would concede, would be able to adopt artificial intelligence or even develop artificial intelligence. We agree that to a certain extent, it is extremely expensive at the beginning, but as innovation and also competition continues to accrue, those things will be able to scale down. So in my speech, I'll be discussing three things primarily. Firstly, on the benefits of AI and how it impacts society at large in three aspects. Firstly, that AI can perform intensive human labor and backbreaking tasks easily. So I would give an example in Malaysia in terms of mining operations. These are things that are extremely dangerous because there are limited working space, poor lighting, hazardous waste, and poisonous gases that happen. So with the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and autonomous technologies, the exposure of workers to dangerous underground and surface operations can be minimized. Machines can autonomously monitor the atmosphere, send signals and warnings, locate problematic areas, and work continuously even in dangerous situations. Hence, with the implementation of artificial intelligence and machine learning and autonomous technologies, this will inevitably ensure the safety of individuals within status quo. But the second thing is in targeting towards the discussion of the healthcare industry, because the artificial intelligence solutions are being developed to help individuals with everything from oncological scan analysis to predictive capability of alerting nurses to patients' risks of failing. Earlier this year, Malaysia actually introduced the Steti Pro, the world's first stethoscope with artificial intelligence capabilities. It allows users to listen to patients' hearts and lungs with sophisticated amplification and filtering technologies. This ensures that all our doctors and nurses will be better aware to prepare for the problems of tomorrow. But the last thing is in terms of artificial intelligence impact on saving the environment. In China, IBM's Green Horizon project in using an artificial intelligence system that can forecast air pollution and track pollution will ensure that our climate will be protected, to ensure that we don't pollute the environment continuously and we don't harm our planet. In conclusion, with all of these benefits, we must ensure the safety, explainability, transparency, and validity of artificial intelligence application, ensuring that we have more interaction with public and private entities, technologists, policymakers, philosophers, and more investments in research. This is to ensure that artificial intelligence will benefit us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Umay, for that wonderful case. Now, to close off the government case, I'd like to call upon Sharif Fakhri. Here.
Testing. I don't disagree that AI will have a lot of benefits. What I disagree with is who is going to see those benefits. Because AI allows for a concentration of wealth and power that is unprecedented in the history of humankind. Consider, Khalis already told you that most of the people who are investing in AI and who control the AI and have ownership of AI are only the richest, because you need massive amounts of power, you need massive amounts of compute, you need massive amounts of resources. Consider under status quo, or right now, the power with which an oligarchy or a concentration of private capital already gives in society that is even difficult to be able to check by a democratic society. inevitably, concentration of oligarchies allow a control of, or indirectly or directly, the sources of information. They control the media, they choose what you can see, what you can't see, what you read. Consider the fact that it's not a coincidence that racism is on the rise because of what we read on Facebook, because those are built upon machine learning algorithms that are controlled by the powerful. Consider the fact that you will not have a job likely in the future because your job is likely going to be taken by an AI. There is no reason why a company will hire you if they can hire an AI to do what you will do 10 times cheaper and 10 times more efficient as well. But also consider the fact that we are slowly moving towards a boring dystopia, right? One where your wages are increasingly becoming less and less. I'm sure we all feel it in this room where your wages are becoming less and less. We have become 10 times as productive, but somehow we aren't working 10 times as less. And that's because the benefits of AI don't necessarily trickle down to the poorest person. It trickles down to the rich and the wealthy in society who will squeeze you for more and more. That's not a coincidence, right? That's simply a consequence of automation. Even if you're becoming a lawyer, or even as you keep on becoming even if you work in a very complex job, that job will also soon be overtaken by AI. And the fact of the matter is that this kind of restructuring is inevitable unless there's some kind of huge societal restructuring that leads us to something akin to UBI. That's extremely difficult to happen because even if we consider something like socialism instead of the capitalism that we're under, that concentrates power towards a private capital, even in those situations, political power still gets concentrated toward a select few, i.e. Stalinism and Trotskyism. Therefore, I wonder, how is it that AI is going to be able to benefit the minor few? I think it will become more of right now. It will become more of right now where we are working longer and longer at meaningless jobs. I agree, there will be jobs that were created, but we will be paid less and less simply so that the rich and the wealthy can benefit. That is exactly what is happening right now, and that is exactly what I think will continue to happen. It's not a crazy stretch to believe. Also consider that AI in the wrong hands is an insanely powerful weapon. If the government can see, and consider what is our most powerful weapon against totalitarianism. It's something like Twitter, right? It's our ability to organize ourselves. It's our ability to see and our ability, or for example, the fact that a democratic power still has to have soldiers and still has to feed its soldiers. All of those checks and balances go away double when you consider that it's going to be an AI, right? When you can consider that at any point in time, the government can instantly know where you are and who to lock you up. The government knows who the dissidents are and can instantly have facial recognition to say who they are and who they aren't. The fact that they can already to a large extent control political power is subverted because we aren't fighting against equals anymore. That's the checks and balances that exist in status quo. We are fighting against something that is even beyond superhuman, and whether or not we will be able to control it is something that is extremely uncertain. Ladies and gentlemen, AI has so much potential, but I don't think that potential will be used for good if the power structures that be in this world continue the way they are. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Khalid, Sharif. Now, I'd like to call upon Shitab to close the debate. Here.
I'm going to tell you why artificial intelligence will give you all the things you thought were impossible. That's why we should work for it. But before that, let's talk about the few things that passed off as arguments from their side. The first argument from them is, we don't see the benefits of AI. I'll tell you, you'll see the benefits of AI when you have cheaper Uber rides. Lives will be easier for everyone. And I'm pretty sure no one can complain against that. But on a more serious note, benefits of AI boil down to things like smarter Google searches. It boils down to the Nigerian teenager and the Bangladeshi teenager somewhere in the world right now who doesn't have access to a library but has access to Google's most powerful search engine that powers him to go and learn what he wants to and leverage it, often to have careers that this person could have never thought of. AI helps, Because in case of things like food security, we see trends. By 2050, you will have 9 billion, by 2050, you will have 10 billion people to feed. You need to increase food production by 60%. How do you possibly do it? We're doing it right now. We're doing it by using things like precision agriculture, through which you detect early signs of diseases, but also find ways to produce more food in a better way. Secondly, by doing things like reducing food wastage. So I actually think the benefits of AI are not just in the future, they're happening right now and they're affecting us positively. What then are we left with? This argument that AI is being peddled by all the large companies. That doesn't make sense because pretty much every major industrial revolution was like that in the beginning. The mobile networks in its early days, the railway network in its early days was also being peddled by monopolistic companies, but that did not prevent us from benefiting them. I'll give you 3 good reasons why that's true. The first reason why that's true is because there's effective sources of learning these things available. You can go to the internet right now and learn how to become a data scientist, not in 6 months, but maybe in 1 or 2 years. These are things you can actually do right now. Secondly, if I'm running an AI startup, I don't need to buy off a bunch of GPUs or buy off a bunch of like space, right? I can go to Amazon and I can go to Google's K80 and I can process my data and store my data. That means that the cost of doing all these things has just reduced significantly. Thirdly, the fact that one of the largest costs of developing artificial intelligence, i.e. data, is more than ever before open source, shared, and created on a partnered and collaborative basis. But the fourth reason why the cost of developing AI is cheaper than ever before is the fact that countries like China are coming up with this humongous made in China plan, making it ever more accessible for people like Sharif to go into AI, even though 10 years ago he wouldn't have been able to. So exponentially these things go down. I think that's plain fear mongering. The third thing that you therefore need to consider is just ask yourself the question, does the world change positively? We think it does. Things like universal basic income happens because politics over the world is already gearing towards that way. States like Alaska have already experimented with UBI, and countries like Iceland are also doing it. Also, the fact that companies like Google have 60% gross margin just means that they're okay with being taxed a lot more. In fact, these people are coming out and like Bill Gates spoke for higher taxation because these people recognize the need for all of these things. But most importantly, they don't care about taxation. It's about being in the right market because you need the right people to add constant value to your product, and that's why they also don't care about those things. This means we end up in a world where there's a lot of regulation to get rid of the worst aspects of AI. There's things like universal basic income to protect people against the worst of it. The net benefit in that world is things like better climate because of all the arguments Umay gave, but they never responded to. The benefits that we have is better health. The person with cancer who wouldn't have been diagnosed can now be diagnosed, and these trends will only increase in the future. More people with better lives and meaningful jobs. In the end, we care about working on problems that we care about, not slaving away on jobs that any machine could do. I would rather live in a world where I'm working on something meaningful. AI makes that happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shitab. That is all we have for you today. I hope you were all very entertained. Thank you very much for having us, and assalamu alaikum.